Hi everyone, this is a review of chapter 10 and 11. We still have 2 more weeks until we meet. So next week, I'm just probably gonna send you an email to remind you of the meeting. But I won't go into any review of the appendix A, B, or C, because that's just basically, those are just documents that well, the Dallas Statement on Social Justice and the Gospel, it's a document that is like, I think, 2 or 3 years old now. And it's basically the original document that, if you've been following all this stuff, or, like when social justice began kind of creeping in. So that's the document that sometimes Voddie, if you follow Voddie Baucham or James White or Thomas Paul, that's when all of those guys got together and just put together this manuscript and put it online. And whatever he talks about in the book, like, nobody wanted to sign it. Like, nobody in the SBC, nobody in Together for the Gospel or the Gospel Coalition, everybody was just like saying that there was nothing wrong, but that they probably didn't mean what they were saying. And then obviously Appendix B and C is just, it's more obvious how the resolutions on critical race theory and intersectionality, the one that was submitted and the one that passed the floor on the convention 2 years ago, are completely the opposite. Now, I don't really know. I haven't been following this stuff, just what I see on Twitter, but yesterday they voted, and so the new president of the Southern Baptist Convention is a pastor by the name of Ed Litton, and he's been preaching with his wife at his church, and he's very open to women preachers. Let's just say he's a soft complementarian. I don't know if he's gonna continue to do that, but anyways, he, for what I've heard, the resolutions that a lot of people were hoping that would pass, and especially 1 or 2 that were submitted, in which they condemned critical race theory, they didn't even vote on them. Like, they didn't even allow them to come to the floor. So anyways, that's a sad indication of where the SBC might be going in the future. I've never heard, Pastor Josh Weiss saying that that a lot of people are gonna leave the SBC. Many churches might leave the SBC because I think it's definitely going left. So, and I think CRT has become, there was a debrief on day 1 of the convention. It's on Facebook if you want to watch it, by Thomas Paul and Jared Longshore. They were saying that obviously, there are still faithful pastors like themselves, I guess, that they're not going to jump ship and they're still going to stay, probably. But it is a sad indication of where the church is, right? Evangelicalism is, and also that CRT and intersectionality have become protected, as in the 11th commandment, right? The 11th commandment of the SBC is, thou shalt not speak ill of any or another Southern Baptist member. So now they don't even mention CRT. They just mention other tools, but they don't want to talk about them, and they don't condemn them either. So anyways, sorry about that. It was too long. So anyways, chapter 10, I really think that this chapter really resonated with me. Page 201 says that Voddie believes that America is one of the least racist countries in the world. I've never, there were some comments, or there have been comments over the years, regarding my accent or regarding the color of my skin or stuff like that. But no, honestly, Nothing major that I have experienced. That doesn't mean racism doesn't exist, but something that it's really incredible is that people just do, they just hear what they want to hear, and then the narrative, they change it. Like they're basically lying. You know, in page 203, when he talks about that there was a statement that slaves were 3/5 of a person. That's not at all what happened historically, right? It was 2/3, I mean 3/5 of the population of the South that was allowed to vote, to send representatives to the Senate. But that has nothing to, like, that never meant, it's just of people total, like slaves and not slaves. But it never meant that a slave was only 3/5 of a person. Um, anyway, it just talks about how eventually CRT is going to target your organization, Christian or not Christian, religious or not religious, and how even James Lindsay, which is, he's not an angry atheist anymore. He's even speaking up, right, for the church, because this stuff is going to affect the church. Oh, see, the critical social justice war is attacking Christianity because they see Christianity as something totally white and something that has been oppressive, hegemony, and obviously, right, like missionaries and all these people that go into all these tribes, they're mainly white, the ones who go anyways, and so Christianity is seen as the oppressor of the West. um, Religious freedom is really code for white Christians to be able to do what they want to do. That's a comment that was made by Jamar Tesby in a conversation that he had with Phil Vischer, the creator of VeggieTales. This guy's already super woke. Um, so again, the only solution for all of this is the gospel of Jesus Christ. You cannot legislate love of God and the keeping of His commandments. And I think we're just speaking past each other or talking past each other, because I think, for whatever little that I have read, I've been following Twitter like yesterday, like for the last 2 days, just to see what's happening at the convention. Um, it is just so sad that when these people are just tweeting at each other, right? And I mean, I don't really know what happens like at the big level. Like, another one pastor is able to meet with another pastor and just talk it out. But at least at the lay people level, um, you have to be good friends, really good friends with people, and I think that you have to invest a long time listening to each other. And what I'm saying, listening to each other, I think what they mean is that we listen and then we believe everything that they say. But I don't think that's true. I think we need to listen, but listening does not necessarily mean that we have to say yes to everything that they are saying, or even to everything that they're demanding. Because I was just thinking, okay, so if America is really racist, right, or is systemically racist, and it's just guilty of everything that they're saying America is racist of, then I would have a right to be upset, right? I mean, because basically, I mean, Texas was from Mexico, California, all these like South states, right? They were part of Mexico. You just took them away. But not only that, then I would have to be upset too with people from Spain, right? Because I mean, they came, they conquered my people, they killed them all, they burned them, and then they build this civilization over pagan temples, right? Like, so you still go to Mexico City and you can see the ruins of these pagan temples where children were born as uh, sacrifices to Tlaloc or whoever, Huitzilopochtli, whatever god of that my ancestors believe in. But like, if you're gonna hold people accountable for every single thing that they did, I mean, it's just a grievance. It's a constant victimhood. Like, people will always people. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's just that's how history has always happened. That's what that's why we are in this mess, because people are sinful, and so there is really no forgiveness in here. That I guess the end game of critical race theory is really power, because they want power too. So I mean, when say Black people obtain everything that they want to obtain, they're not gonna stop. Anyways, he talks about page 215 and 16 and 17 about Black Lives Matter, and how Hillsong Church and even Paula White, Mormon leaders, and obviously the president of the Southern Baptist Convention back then, G.D. Greer, just embraced, not necessarily embrace the language of Black Lives Matter, but at least embracing the slogan, right? The words, and how all that came to happen. And it's just a mess. Um, Obviously, Voddie goes into, I don't really know. I went into the website. He says that that information on the website was eventually taken off. But I do remember saying how they were openly pagan, Marxist, Leninist, leaning. They practiced witchcraft, and that is one of the reasons what they say, what they used to say their names, right? Because they kind of like hold them from the dead. They are openly feminist, pro-LGBTQIA. I don't know what the IA means now. They were anti-male, anti-family, pro-abortion, pro-Planned Parenthood, and how people have been fired from their jobs to even just correcting people or opposing these ideas. And just the simple idea that using the hashtag BLM is now a litmus test for whether somebody is an anti-racist is just absurd. Nothing will repair the fault lines. The divisions are both real and necessary. And I think that was pretty obvious yesterday when people were voting for all these resolutions. Because people were excited and happy when the guy who's more to the left, when the conservative guy in the SDC did not win for president. Anyways, he says that we must love the truth. I'm so sorry. More than we love our friends, our reputations, or our platforms. Now, he's not suggesting that we go out and be rude, obnoxious, and disrespectful. And honestly, I think it is by the grace of God that I have grown in that regard, because the gospel is pretty offensive to begin with. And I know that I was not necessarily rude, but or disrespectful, probably obnoxious. You know, like when you just talk and talk and talk and talk about something and the same. And I think I've been more. I think I've been able to have more self-control of my my tweeting or my Facebook. So that is something that is really important. I hope we can have conversations regarding that, how we interact with people, how we present the truth, and how to be respectful, even if they just don't agree with what we're trying to say. So then chapter 11 is called Solid Ground. He talks about God. He talks about God's providence, right? How when he went to Africa for the first time, he realized that he was able to forgive, and he was able to forgive not only the people who bought his ancestors in America, but the black people who sold his black ancestors to Americans. Because Africans sold their own people into slavery, probably after taking them as slaves themselves. So there's a lot of resentment, bitterness. And this is what I was thinking, right? The Roman Catholic Church, Spain, sent people into Mexico, they conquered, they destroyed my people, right? And I'm not saying my people were pagan, so it was good that they destroyed them anyway. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they destroyed them for whatever reasons it is that they had. But see, anti-racism offers endless penance, judgment, and fear. And so you can rest in the sovereignty of God and say, well, there was a purpose for that. And we have the opportunity to shine the light of Christ in the midst of darkness, like he says in page 229. So we need to expose the wizard, call out the boy who cried wolf, and proclaim that the emperor has no clothes. Not so that you can defeat your brethren in arguments, but so that you can engage them with the hope of winning them. That is something too that the people said yesterday about the meeting, the Southern Baptist Convention, that many of the resolutions, it seemed that the people on the floor were saying that they had to be united and that doctrine was not important, and that just pragmatism, the pragmatism that see all over evangelicalism, that it is more important to be united and to have unity, and you disregard truth, right? Like doctrine is not that important as long as we are united. Like that people needed to focus on evangelism, but the message that they were transmitting was, let's just focus on evangelism and on sharing Christ for the lost without holding on to truth. As long as we are united, that's what matters. And I think that's what's happening in the SBC. And I don't really know if it's going to split, but very likely. So he finishes the chapter with that. Does that mean that our ethnicity is irrelevant? No. I leave you with God's answer to that. And then he quotes Revelation 7:9-12, where, John sees a great multitude from every nation, tribes, and peoples and languages standing in front of the throne, crying with a loud voice, salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne and to the Lamb. And I hope that when we meet for this discussion for this book, we will make that our priority, because we cannot have unity unless we are focused on the truth of the gospel. Anyways, I'll see you later. Thank you. Bye.